is Teske. One of the things that I found remarkable in your written testimony, you talked about a little here, was the comparison you made between the way things used to be and the way things are now. Years ago, you were able to recover millions of dollars for service members whose rights had been violated. Today, it seems like it's nearly impossible to bring cases to enforce laws that protect our men and women in uniform. Can you comment on this?
Absolutely. The majority of the consumer financial contracts that the service members have entered into in the last few years, and I assume that will continue in the next few years, have these forced arbitration clauses. We have heard already about the credit card contracts and the variety of other types of contracts like cell phone services or car loan contracts. Whereas before we might have been able to get relief for the class members for violations of the Service Members Civil Relief Act as a class action, in those situations we are no longer able to. Each service member would have to file their own individual arbitration. They would first of all have to know the intricacies of the Service Members Civil Relief Act and know that there was a violation, then file their own individual arbitration, take the time and effort to do that, and they would not be able to bring a representative case to represent the hundreds, if not thousands, of other service members that had the same thing happen to them. So it's night and day compared to before forced arbitration clauses and now.
Okay, you told one story in your testimony that really illustrates the problem. I went back and looked at some of the court documents for that case, and frankly, I just think it shocks the conscience. The Service Members Civil Relief Act says, among other things, that banks can't foreclose on service members who are on active duty without first getting permission from a judge. The idea is that we can't expect our troops to fight the enemy abroad while fighting off bank foreclosures or an eviction notice at home. I think we can all agree that that's a good law. Literally, we can all agree this law passed by unanimous consent. You testified about a soldier from Minnesota, from my state, who earned several honors during the course of his service, including the Army Commendation Medal. On the same day that this soldier was ordered to report for active duty, his lender initiated foreclosure proceedings against him. So, the soldier goes off to Iraq to serve his country, and meanwhile, the bank is trying to take his house away from him without first going to a judge for permission. It's a blatant violation of law. And it gets worse. The lender falsified an affidavit swearing under oath that the bank knew that this man was not in military service, which was completely untrue. Using that false affidavit, the lender got the sheriff to put the soldier's house up for sale, and the house was sold while the owner of the house was in Iraq, in Balad, at Camp Anaconda, right? I've been to Camp Anaconda 4 times. It was called Mortaritaville because I got mortared so much. Guess who ended up buying that house? The lender. The bank that foreclosed. I mean, I got a heck of a deal. It paid between a quarter and a third of the value of the house for the house that it foreclosed on illegally. Great deal for the bank. Not a good deal for our soldier in Balad. Now, my understanding, Ms. Teske, is that the soldier wanted to file a Service Members Civil Relief Act case to seek justice, not just for himself, but also for other soldiers who had been foreclosed upon by the same bank. And it was really important for him to know that other soldiers knew that they had legal rights and that those rights might have been violated. You mentioned in your testimony that there was some indication that your client wasn't alone, that there might have been other victims out there, so the soldier filed a case for himself and for other soldiers who had been foreclosed upon by this bank. What happened next?
he didn't get his day in court. Because of the forced arbitration clause, the judge went ahead and ordered arbitration, and we ended up settling the case, and he wasn't able to represent the other service members. So rather than having a class action that could go forward where others and he could get relief in our public court system, in the public eye, none of those things happened.
Okay, I'm out of my time. We'll come back. We're going to have a second round for anyone who wants to stick around. But that to me is just an outrage. That's an outrage.